Thank you, Mustafa. So now we have Craig Fuller, the founder of FreightWaves, discussing VC investment and supply chain and logistics. Craig Fuller is the CEO and founder of FreightWaves. The company is also the number one source for media and market analytics in the global freight industry. Welcome, Craig.
Hey, Matt, thank you. Glad to be here, Mustafa. Congratulations on your success. I think it's telling that you guys have built a business that's operating far more efficient than what the average is in the industry. And I think about what's happening, putting this event together, just being across the logistics industry, what's taking place right now. We're at a pretty interesting time, and a time unlike any that has ever existed in our industry. I have been around this industry my whole life. I literally was born into it. And I remember as an entrepreneur, as someone who grew up when the internet was taking off in the mid 90s, what was happening in capital markets, what was happening in the startup community, and just how dramatic it shaped all of our lives. And for many years, the concept of supply chain or logistics was sort of frowned upon, or people ignored it. And that's no longer the case. In fact, if you look at the investments that have gone into supply chain technology and into transportation technology, trucking technology, et cetera, there has been the amount of money that's being poured into our industry is unprecedented. We've never seen the levels of investment that we're seeing today. Here's a couple of numbers just in terms of to give everyone a perspective on how much money and capital is being poured into this industry. Is last year, 2020, $55 billion worth of deals were invested in logistics technology. Now that includes all stages of investment. It's everything from early stage seed to venture, all the way to IPO. Just in venture capital investing in 2020, $12.6 billion was invested in 2020. And it's just going to accelerate. So far in the month of March, we've seen $4.1 billion invested in supply chain technology, and that's just in the first 10 days. So there is just so much happening in terms of investment capital going into this space. This is happening at an unprecedented level, and I believe it's quite sustainable. A couple of years ago, over the last couple of years, there's been a lot of conversation with incumbents about whether the investment cycle, this venture investment that's going into this space, is sustainable, or whether the bubble's going to pop and all of a sudden the incumbents are going to thrive and win. And I don't think that's the case. Our thesis is that not only is it sustainable, but it's going to accelerate. And oftentimes we look at the fintech industry as our inspiration, partially because I spent 9 years in it, but also because it is a logistics, financial services and logistics as part of GDP are approximately the same size. Logistics is actually slightly bigger. And for that reason, we look at that as a model of how people banking and interact is a model of how people will transact the physical economy, which is really what logistics is all about. And so we think we're at the early innings of this. If you go back and look at fintech in the mid 2000s, we're in the equivalence of that right now in logistics. We're in the very, very early stages, and the amount of investment that will happen over the next decade will just continue to accelerate. So anyone who tells you that this is a bubble and it's going to pop or it's not sustainable just hasn't looked at different industries that have hit these critical masses of acceleration and capital and don't understand that this stuff will continue to build upon itself. And it's a really exciting time. There's a lot of reasons for that. I think of this renaissance that's taking place in supply chain logistics, whether it's autonomous vehicles that are on the horizon within the next couple of years, the electric vehicle sector with what's happening with all the companies that are raising capital, both in public and in private markets for EVs, what's happening around supply chain visibility and transparency and these massive networks that are being built, or these newer digital native participants, freight brokerages, and et cetera, that are really building these massive businesses and the leaders of tomorrow. And this is changing everything. I think this is the single most exciting sector of our economy, not because I'm in it, but because of the momentum that our industry is participating in and benefiting from. And I think COVID was the moment when most people around the world became aware of how important and critical our industry is. The folks at ZUUM are putting this together, and I applaud them. They've talked about collaboration, how important it is. I truly believe, because of the size and scale of this industry, that it is going to take collaboration. And if we borrow from the fintech industry, what you saw over the last 2 decades is companies would go out and create these network infrastructures that then other participants could tie into. And I think we're going to start seeing that in logistics tech, is the visibility players, the EV and the AV players are going to start creating digital ecosystems that will allow additional innovation. Uber would never have existed if MasterCard and Visa's payment networks weren't opened up to them. The stripes of what building digital integration and building an API that anyone can integrate to has created an ecosystem that is massive and will continue to accelerate. And I think we're seeing that in this industry. So I want to thank the folks at ZUUM, wish them the best of luck to bringing the thought leaders together. And I really want to applaud ZUUM and Mustafa for the leadership that they're showing in having these conversations.
Craig, we want to thank you right back. We believe you're killing it, man. We're glued to your channel.
Well, we benefit from the themes as much as anybody does. I mean, this is a hot sector. It's a hot topic. I no longer get asked, can you build a media business based on the logistics industry? Now people that had no interest in it before are tuning in and paying attention to what's happening. So it's an astounding time of what's happening across our industry. It's an industry that I love, and I think it will be pretty profound. So thanks for having me.
So, yeah, no problem. So I've been watching your channel since the beginning, right? What I notice of late is this like mini critical mass happening within your organization of knowledge and expertise. And I think it's really cool what's happening there.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I think it's a collective knowledge of the entire community. You know, we're only as good as people that are in the industry, that are practitioners, that are, you know, keeping us tuned of what's happening. And so it's important, as we build up the community, as we participate in the community, that we get information and intelligence of what's going on, so that we can initiate those conversations and be a part of them.
Thank you so much for the support.
Thank you.
All right. Thanks so much, Craig.